Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Chorus Cornix, and welcome to Yacc, yet another Crowcast where I pick a game, I play it for a week, and then I'll talk about it. However, this episode is a bit different. This time I went to a retro convention in Västerås called Retrogathering. It's held twice a year, and usually the first part is focused on old computers and stuff, and this one that I went to this fall is more focused on, retro games, everything from like 8-bit to... not current consoles, but like 10 to 15-year-old ones. So this is something I look forward every year. It's kind of ridiculous. I have this whiteboard in my hallway where the data, as soon as I know which date is supposed to be happening, I write it down. And it's just one of those things that you meet a lot of people that you know from Twitch and Discord. A lot of Swedes because, it's held in Sweden. But it's kind of cool. You meet all these kind of nerds at this one place where it's actually... I don't know where to start. I probably should start from the beginning, I guess. So I woke up early, I took a bus there, and the problem with the bus systems, it's not a problem, but during the weekends, it's they don't go as frequent. So either I'm there way too late, or I'm, in my case, being there way too early. So that's what happened. I took an early bus, and last year I did a very big blunder. You see, there are paying members for this retro gathering, and there are those that are just visitors. So the people that pay for the tickets in advance and are members, they actually has like their own line, and those are visiting had their own as well. So last year I went into the wrong line, and nobody knew exactly which line there was because everyone was afraid to go leave their place in the line. So it was kind of stupid. But this year I actually went up into the door and everything. And I saw, okay, this is the right line, because last year I stood in the wrong line, and this lady was kind of nice when she was checking tickets and stuff. You just move to the other line. You didn't know, but this time I actually checked, and I got a seated place right up at the front. It's ridiculous. I think I stood for an hour and just waited in line until it was time to go. Not stood, but sitting. There was actually seats. So the brilliant thing about this convention is that it's held at a school, so all the spaces are, they are spacey. It's a school, it's supposed to be like that. So once you get in and pay for your ticket, you have access to the main hall, which divides into two other areas. But the main hall is one of the cooler areas because they've hooked up these old gaming systems to old CRTs. And you know that sound that the humming, old electronic makes, that smell? And everything, the glare and everything. It's like being in an arcade. A lot of noise, people everywhere, and all the people there are single-minded because they're interested in games, and that's the whole reason why they're there. So it's kind of cool. I sat down to take in all the atmosphere, and there was this middle-aged man, and I guess his kid was 5 or 6, and he introduced the kid to Pong, and I looked up from my phone, and I was I couldn't help but smile because the kid was genuinely happy to just play games, because you just go play games. Everything, you just play it. It was kind of cool. So the whole reason I went to Retro Gathering was to meet up with old friends and have pizza with them. I even said that I was supposed to buy them pizza in a drunken haze, stuff that happens. So I was kind of glad that not a lot of people of them showed up actually. But the other reason I was there was to pick up a Game Boy Pocket, because that's one of those things that I just wanted. And in my head I had dreamt that I was supposed to pick it up at a specific booth, but it wasn't really there. So I actually got one in box and everything with wrapped in hard plastic. The salesman was kind of shady. You always check out prices on eBay and other sites before you go to these events so you don't get scammed. But he demanded the full price for it, and I paid because I just wanted the damn thing. The box was kind of crumbled up in the corners, and the price was, as I said, a lot more than I was supposed to be paying. But I just asked the guy, is this functional? Does it work? Yes, it does work, but it has a scratch on the screen. But once I got home, it had more than one scratches, but it turned on and it worked. So I always wanted to do, to play Game Boy games for this podcast, because it's one of my favorite systems. I actually had a brick Game Boy back in the day, one of those transparent plastic ones, but I actually broke it because you could these things actually took a lot of batteries, and I was thinking, stupid me was thinking okay, I need an adapter, because it has an RC adapter you can plug in, a little slot for it. So I got one of those cheap ones, and it worked. But after a while, the system started to hum, and I broke something electronically inside of it. So I forgot about the Game Boy hype and everything, and I got one this time, so I was kind of happy about it. So now I can play games on it. So all of these things are picked up at the room to the right. So this room was dedicated to salespeople from all over the country, like retro gaming shops and people like that. So there were a lot of vendors, a lot of tables, and the good thing about this convention was that it was kind of calm. There were a lot of people, but there weren't a lot of shuffling around. You just waited for your turn, and then you can take a look in the bins what they got. And most people were nice. I've been to other cons where it's like people don't give a shit. They just push around and they're generally unpolite, but everyone was nice. So that's a good thing. So I also picked up 2 Game Boy games. Tiny Toons Bubs's Big Break, and I have no idea what it is, but it looked good. And I picked up a Japanese version of Kirby. So the labels and everything was in Japanese, but once you popped it into the Game Boy, it more or less, it's the same, it's in English. It just has the Japanese label on the outside. So I was also looking out for these tumblers and shot glasses with video game characters on them. I think they were there last year, and I was like, okay, I can wait till next year because they didn't have a lot of money, but now they're totally gone. I also wanted like a baseball cap with Mario on it or something, and t-shirts, but I couldn't find that either. Well, there actually were a couple of t-shirts, but they were super expensive. They know they can charge for it, so they upped the price. But yeah, and it's a lot of things to just take in as well. It's kind of crazy. All the music, all the people. As I said, you're there with people like that has the same interests as you do, and it's kind of mind-boggling. It's one of those things where everyone is. When we were out waiting in the line, there were young people, old people, some were there with their kids, you know. Everybody, like, there's 5 minutes until they open for visitors, and everybody was like nervous, and some people were shaking, and it was kind of one of those, like, if you go to a concert kind of feel, and once the attendants open doors, like, full speed in, you know, get the stuff, get the wristbands, just go in there, go in and loot, basically. So in the hall to the left, there were less vendors, but more interesting stuff. So there was this gaming company, I believe they were based in Sweden. They made their own like retro games, you know, that you can plug into like a system and play it. I was just passing by, but it's one of those things. I think it was 16-bit, so it could have been Genesis or Super Nintendo. It's cool that people does this sort of passion projects. Well, and I walked around, I didn't talk to anyone. We were supposed to be a couple of people attending this, but I was there so early because of the bus situation that we were supposed to have pizza, as I said, and I was like, okay, I'm done now. I'm just gonna go. Not a lot of people here. I just, chatted up a couple of people on Discord, and once I was about to go to the pizza place, I was like, I can't eat pizza by myself. I feel stupid. So I was like, oh, whatever. I don't care. I'm not gonna go to the bus. And on the way to the bus, I actually met 2 of the people that I know from Twitch and Discord, Tua Falkman and Dieter. Well, Dieter I don't know as much. I've seen him write into us chat a couple of times. So it's kind of this weird situation where I am on my way to the bus. I'm kind of stressed, but we stopped and talked, and I actually took a selfie with one of them, and I totally forgot about it. Then once I got home, looked at my loot and sat in front of Twitch and whatnot. After a long time afterwards, it was like nighttime almost, or like in the afternoon, he posted a selfie. I was like, yeah, I forgot about that. I actually met 2 people that I actually knew from Twitch. Oh, that's cool. And I am not exaggerating when I say this was one of the best days of my life. It's just, I was so happy because Game Boy, and I'm excited and happy talking about it now as well, just Game Boy is part of those things from my childhood, and my sister had a red Game Boy Pocket. I played on it all the time because she neglected it, and yeah, but that's another story. And I wanted a red Game Boy, and when I saw that in the display case, I was like, that's the one I need to have that. There's no other way. I have to have that one. They also had like a turquoise one, but the red one was yes. It even it was amazing. One of those great feelings. And I got home and I put all the loot up in Discord and stuff and showed people, and just an overall nice feeling. So I also forgot to talk about it. In the main hall there was also where they had like an exhibition, I guess you call it, where they they display something. So I just went by it. It wasn't really that interesting. But last year or the year prior to that, there was they had a display of the Sony PlayStation. That was one project that Nintendo scrapped and went to the Philips CDI. Yeah, that thing. So it's actually a cool thing. It was a little gray, yellowed box which can play Super Nintendo and PlayStation discs. And it was a prototype, but there only exist like 2 or 3 of them or something like that. And one of the guys that worked on it was actually there and talking about it. It was plugged up and working with a CRT. And it's one of those things that you normally wouldn't see. And a year prior to that, I think the guy that made the soundtrack for Donkey Kong was there as well, talked about music. And it's such a surrealistic kind of moment to meet with the people of the industry. And I was like, I wanted to go up to him and ask for his autograph, but he looked super busy. So I was like, okay, it's fine. So this is why I look forward to this every year. It's one of those moments that you have to be there to experience because it's amazing. It's awesome. So I'm looking forward to go there next year. I'll put it up on my whiteboard as soon as I know the date. That's all I'm going to say. So anyway, thanks for listening and or watching, and take care.